Certified Coach is EMCC.
This meeting is being recorded.
He's a leading expert in human behavior and relationship and a highly regarded expert in the field of behavioral neuroscience. And for over 2 decades, Dr. Young has helped people create transformative and lasting changes for themselves and their organizations. Dr. Young is a 3-time TEDx speaker with over 4 million views on TEDx and YouTube channel. He's also an International Coaching Federation, of course, Master Certified Coach, a National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach, and a member of the renowned Forbes Coaching Council, and also a Certified Professional Diversity Coach. Dr. Young is also a Master Neuro-Linguistic Practitioner and a Master's MBTI Practitioner with a PhD in Holistic Life Coaching. He's also first co-chairs of the Council of Race, Equity, and Inclusion at the Institute of Coaching, McLean, and continues a Distinguished Fellow at the renowned Institute of Coaching, McLean, a Harvard Medical School affiliate. Dr. Ivan also specializes in coaching ultra high net worth individuals, C-suite executives, elected officials, public figures, licensed healthcare and legal professionals, and professional athletes. He's also recognized as one of the top African American life coaches in the United States and globally. But before we welcome Dr. Young, I would also like to introduce Pauline Kiraide, a founder and the CEO of Talent Gurus at 254. She's a leadership effective facilitator, an executive leadership life, team, and career coach, and also an author. And I suggest you've not got this book, she's the author of Owning Your Career. She's been a HR consultant for 28 years of many multisectoral HR leadership experiences, and she cuts across the NGO world, telco world, retail, media, educational sectors. Over the years, she's rose from the lowest point to the highest point of her career now as the corporate leader of HR director of Standard Media Group. And now she's done 7 years as an entrepreneur, executing purpose through organizations, Talent Guru at 254, where she uses a vast HR experience to assist companies and individuals unleash their true potential. Join me and welcome Pauline Kiraide to moderate this session. Pauline Kiraide, over to you, and you take us on this session. Thank you very much, and most welcome to both of you.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Mr. President, Agwins, for that great introduction. And we'll get into the session. So this session is going to be formatted a bit different because Dr. Devan Young is actually in another meeting, but he will be joining us. So we're going to get into his presentation. He's already prepared a presentation for us. We go through it, and after which we will do some question and answer and engage with him. By the time the 45 minutes are up, we'll be done with the other engagement. So just a bit of the backdrop of the conversation that we're getting into. I'm sure you all remember COVID. COVID threw us completely into the VUCA. We used to read about VUCA, but now VUCA came to us completely, and we got to understand what VUCA means. Yeah, volatile, uncertain, complex, as well as ambiguous. And I remember myself in that year, the year before COVID. Remember, I was so excited because I had finally felt that I had gotten a business model and I'd actually cracked the code of my business, which was career coaching. And I'd managed to infiltrate schools. But shock on me, who ever thought that schools can be closed? Indefinitely. So actually we entered the VUCA world, and I remember the thing of now you actually have to get out and think differently. So the conversation that Dr. Ivan Young is going to take us through is how do you start having the mindset? What kind of mindset do you need to adopt as a coach in a VUCA environment? Because clearly, I think VUCA, we used to read about it, but now we are actually in it. they actually say that COVID actually managed to bring us forward, yeah, by 5 years. So we're actually not in 2023, we are actually operating in 2028. What should have been happening in 2028? And so he's going to look at this presentation, those two aspects. How do we adapt to change and how do we build resilience? That ability to actually adapt with change, yeah? You as a coach, and also what do you need to do to help our coaches, the people come to us as we help them. So let me just share the screen and then we can get on to the presentation. You can tell me, Agwins, if the sound is not clear.
So far, so good.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Diavon Young, ICF Master Certified Coach, and welcome to International Coaching Week. I want to first say thank you to the Kenya chapter of the International Coach Federation for having me. Today, we're going to spend some time having a very needed discussion around why are we coaching and why are we coaches. The theme for my conversation with you is coaching as a tool to enhance resilience and wellness in turbulent times. And God only knows if there are any turbulent times, they're definitely there right now. You know, going back to 2020, there was an inflection point in the national conversation about empathy. The toll of a devastating pandemic and economic recession, polarizing elections and political climates globally, protests over racial injustice and economic uncertainty, and this disparity brought into a sharp contrast the consequences that a lack of empathy has on all of us. You know, beyond that, I think it was probably around 2006, there was a young then Senator Barack Obama who warned us about the dangers of having what he termed to be an empathy deficit. He emphasized this importance for us to be able to get in someone else's shoes and to see the world through a lens that was different from our own. Well, it's been several years later, you know, almost 17 to be exact. And this empathy deficit, as he termed it, is continuing to grow. We learned quickly during COVID that when you lack resources, when there is a supply chain deficit, when people can't find work, when their incomes are impacted, that leads us to a position where we are in a state of chaos. Not only that, this change that we need to see happen typically needs to happen at the top. Well, we as coaches, especially those of you who are executive coaches or who coach C-suites, you know better than anybody else that a deeper understanding of self-awareness, of empathy, and how to put those two things into practice. And let's not forget mindfulness. This is not only a skill, it has to be a state of being. One of the things that I want to talk to you about today is how do we as coaches address these turbulent times in which we live? Well, there's no secret here. It is difficult at best to have someone take something serious that they don't value. Now, you as a coach, I know this is going to definitely push some people maybe off of this video, but I hope it doesn't. My belief is that your clients are led to you. I don't care what you want to call it, karma, just synergy, divine intervention, however you want to phrase it. I truly believe that like attracts like. If any of you have seen any of my TED Talks about the law of attraction or know anything about that premise, and basically what it says is what you are is what you attract. Well, as a coach, more than likely, You went into this profession because you saw the need to help other people. You already had a gift. There was something inside of you that said, you know, I probably can make a difference. There was something inside of you that summoned you to go through the hours, hundreds of hours of training, especially if you're an MCC level coach. But even if you are just entering into this, you've come to understand that coaching isn't something you do. It's something you are. You've also learned that there is a great deal of education required to get your certifications. You are literally investing thousands of dollars, a lot of time. You're staying up. You're reading a lot of content. You're listening to a lot of videos. And if you're like me, submitting those recordings and all the things that you have to do in order to secure an ICF credential is definitely saying something about not only the quality of individual you are, but the quality of what it is that you're going to offer your clients. Well, today I want to talk about those things. And I want to start by just having you take a moment to consider a few attributes that I'm going to call filters or lenses through which you see things. One, and you can write this down, by the way. What is your gender? What is your nationality? What is your race? You know, all these terms about generation X, Z, Y, baby boomer. Which one do you fit in? What spiritual beliefs do you have or not embrace? And the reason I'm asking you to consider all of that is before I can even get into this discussion, it matters that you take the time to consider the lens through which you look at things. Often, your clients and even yourself have bias that's hidden. You may have disdain based on these filters or these lenses that you just self-described. If you're a man, you could possibly think, well, women think a certain way. And I don't mean that you're being negative, or ladies, you could look at men and think, well, all men. Well, we as coaches, we know a couple of things. Anytime you use the term all, you're probably wrong. Second thing that we know is that if we are going to be good at what we do, or hopefully you want to be excellent at what you do, you will remove the lenses that cause you to have a distortion in your perception about some of the things we're going to talk about today. So again, just write down these self-descriptors: your nationality, your race, your gender, what group, what's your generational description. And if you don't know that, take the time to just look. Well, I hope you know your dying gender and I hope you know your race. But if you don't know the other stuff, take some time to look at that. And the reason why I am starting at this place is that for us to have this conversation about coaching as a tool to enhance resilience and to create wellness in turbulent times, we have to get ourselves out the way and see things from a perspective that is, one, hopefully permeable, another, at least have a willingness to be inclusive. And if we can do that, then we can begin to separate this thing called self and others and bring some alignment and make that one. Because as a coach, the things that are critical for your success with your clients is that we become sensitive to our own stressors, to the things that are going on in our lives that allow us to give ourselves a little bit of empathy. Consider this. How can you be empathetic with other people until you become empathetic with yourself? If you are a single mom, you're working a job, you're a chauffeur to a few people, little people, you got to get this one here and that one there. Or even if you are a married couple, you have to think about the needs of everyone else and then consider yourself. If you're an entrepreneur, there's time when you pay everybody else and you don't even get paid. Or no matter how much you made, you're worried about next month. Well, as a coach, I'm sure some of what I just described fits you. I need you to take that into consideration right now. Ask yourself this question. How is what's going on in my life affecting me? How can you teach someone else to be resilient when you haven't taken the time to give yourself a little bit of breathing room? To be mindfully aware of your own circumstances. Just think about it for a second. Now, as you consider this, that's the very thing that your client just showed up with in your office. They've come to you because those stressors, be they economic, health, personal, social, and I'm going to get into all of that in a minute, those stressors have become burdensome. They are compromising your client to the extent that they know not of. But see, this is where you come in, and that's what we're going to talk about today. How can you as a coach make a critical, pivotal difference in helping your client to handle a problematic set of circumstances and see them in such a way that these circumstances become a tool, or put a way I like to say it, a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block. This conversation starts real simple. Now that you're looking at yourself, take a breath, and let's think about some client scenarios that may have shown up in your office this last week, or they may be headed your way today. It's a good idea to take a few extra moments to do a check-in with your clients. I suggest that you may even create an intake sheet or a checklist that you can have your client fill out maybe every couple of weeks. I'm not saying every time they come in, because they'll probably go, what are you doing? But it would be wise if you're working with your clients, and I'm going to suggest that you have your program design either accommodate 6 weeks, because 6 weeks creates awareness, 12 weeks is the birthplace of change. So you could use that as just a premise. But especially upon intake, and especially halfway or a third of the way through your program, to have them check in, and you can ask things like, how's life? How's your budget? How's your health, or the health of someone that they're caring for? Perhaps there's something going on in a relationship. And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be a friendship. It could be a pet. Believe it or not, some people, the only unconditional love that they get is from that cat or that dog that they have, right? What's their social condition like? Perhaps there's something going on that's beyond their control. You know, many of us, depending on where you are on this planet, there are protests in the streets. There's unrest. There's racial discord. There are economic trends and turn downs happening, where that client that you had maybe just a week ago, God forbid, they've lost someone very near and dear to them, a mother, a father, God forbid, a child or a sibling. And again, some of you may, I hope you don't find this funny, but even a pet, you know, that's like losing a family member. It is very important that we take the time to be present with our clients, to ask them meaningful, relative questions about life. One thing I want you to understand, a lot of the people that are coming to see you, you are the only person that is going to have a conversation with them and actually listen and actually care. You know, I always make a joke of this, but I did an experiment one day. I walked, you know, just like many of us do, into an office building. And I would speak to people and, hey, how you doing? Hey, good morning, good morning. And these are people that I would see on a frequent basis. So one day I decided that I would answer people, like if someone asked me, how's your day going? Or, how are you? I would give them some absurd answer like, yeah, I had breakfast with Satan, or, I'm about to go and get castrated. And I would just say that in a matter of fact terms. And you know what most people said back to me? A couple laughed, only a couple. But about 80% of them said, okay, that's great. Have a good day. Now just stop and think. I just did a role play with somebody and they weren't aware that I was doing a role play, but I said, hey, how you doing today? Hey man, I'm good. How are you? Oh shit, I just had lunch with, I had breakfast with Satan, or I'm on my way to go get castrated. And they said, all right, man, you have a great day. What? Well, you can't do that as a coach. You cannot be so mechanistic and cookie cutter in the way that you engage your clients that you don't pay attention to their countenance, to their body language, to the pitch, the tone, and the inflection. If they typically make eye contact with you and all of a sudden they stop, or your client is an extrovert, but for whatever reason today, they're not as chatty and as talkative, or your client is an introvert, and today they come in and they're over the top and very excited about what they're talking about. I mean, you cannot ignore these shifts. And the only way you're going to know it was a shift is if you tapped in and got turned on to what is going on with your client to begin with. The way that you do this is, like I said, create some intake process that allows you to really get to know the person that's in front of you. They're not just a client. They are somebody's husband. They're somebody's wife. They're somebody's daughter. They have a life. Even if they don't think they have a life, they have a life. Whatever it's consisting of is theirs. Check in. Truly care. One lesson I learned when I was in one of my trainings, we did a role play one day. And you know how you always have someone in a class with you that you hope that ain't the person you get in the role play? Well, on this particular day, why did I get paired with this individual? But I did. Well, the big part of this is I just won this award for Black Life Coach of the Year. I had attained my MCC. And there was the only other person in the room with that credential was the instructor. So there was this expectation that, this dude just named Black Life Coach of the Year. He's an MCC. All eyes on him, right? And why do I get this one person that I just found to be, for lack of a better choice of words, very unique? And I got them, and, you know how it is when you're taking these trainings and these advanced classes. I'm thinking, okay, God, of all people, why this person? And when we started the role play, they were all over the place. They were talking about this and talking about that. And, I'm trying to follow my training. And I had wonderful mentor coaches. So it wasn't like I wasn't well trained. It wasn't like I didn't know my stuff. Hell, I'd even written a couple of books, by that time. But the thing that I blew in this, and I'm going to tell you, I did blow it. Now, we got done with the role play, which just was exhaustive and frustrating as hell. I'm going to tell you the truth. And the instructor, who I never will forget, this woman is brilliant. She said, Dr. Young, you did an excellent job checking the boxes in coaching. And she said, but that wasn't very good. And I'm like, pause. What you said doesn't even make sense. How in the hell did I do an excellent job of coaching, and at the same time, it wasn't very good? And she said, well, let me explain. She said, when you have a client that comes in as a chatterbox. Sometimes people just need to be heard. Some coaching sessions aren't going to turn out to be coaching sessions. There are times when your clients simply need to connect. There are times when your client just wants to be heard, wants to be seen. Now that's an ICF competency, right? Creating a safe space, holding the client in high unconditional regard, seeing them as a whole, complete being, intimacy with the client, holding your space as a coach. See, the thing that concerns me most when I lecture globally, especially to people who've been coaching for a minute, it's dangerous when you become good. I'm going to repeat that. It's dangerous when you become good. You get so good sometimes. There's my dad was a deacon at a church, so there was an old phrase that I would often hear my father say that, don't be so heavenly bound that you're no earthly good. And I'm going to say that's true about a lot of coaches. Going back to my topic, coaching as a tool to enhance resilience and wellness in turbulent times. Not having the presence of mind to be mindfully present, to center yourself before the session even starts, so that you are fully available to your client, so that you come into a situation where your client feels like, you know what, I am so glad to walk through this door. I've had a lot of my clients tell me that, and I'm going to tell you, some days I really needed to hear it, because as I'm sharing with you right now, hell, I wasn't having a good day my doggone self. How in the heck am I going to coach someone effectively when I'm not feeling good, which leads me to the next point. There are times when perhaps if you're not really present, don't even do the session. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. Don't you dare wait and call somebody about an hour before because you just got whatever bill in the mail and cancel their session. That's trifling. But what I am saying to you is, if that morning you get up knowing, okay, I just buried my mom. It may have been a week ago. Hell, it could have been a year ago. These bills have me up to here. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just had an argument last night with someone that matters to me a great deal, be it a parent or a child or a significant other. It is okay. Now, I'm not saying make no habit out of this, but it is okay. First, to check in with yourself and ask the question, can I do this today? Can I do this? And if the answer is no, or even if you have to think about it, that probably means no. Don't do the session. Simple as that. And if the answer is yes, and you're going to push through, it's not your client's burden that you made the decision to play like an athlete, play hurt. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with it, because there's a lot of stuff you just cannot push back. You can't push back bills and keep canceling clients, because you keep doing that, you won't have any clients. You can't push back because you aren't feeling 100%. Now, again, I'm telling you, please use common sense. If you have something that's contagious, don't go infecting your client because you're trying to prove how much of a trooper you are. As a matter of fact, that's irresponsible, and that is putting people in harm's way. I'm talking about things that are manageable, that are not contagious, things where you may have to just take a deep breath. And here's what you do when it's like that. Simply let your client know, today the schedule is tight. We want to really make good use of the time. So we're going to have to cut it around 45 minutes. In other words, there are little bitty things you can do when you are not at your best, where you can still show up for your client, not shortchange them or yourself, and provide a quality level of coaching to your client. The next phase is okay, Doc, what you're telling me is a couple of things here. First, you said, in case you're not taking notes, I need to take an inventory about myself. I need to look at my gender, my race, my nationality, what my generational group looks like, whatever beliefs are influencing how I show up. Yes, that's step one. Step two, empathize with yourself. Take a deep breath and make sure that you are good. It is okay to not be okay. If you're not good, if you can give people 12 to 24 hours notice, I would prefer if you can give them at least 24. But if you can't, 12 hours notice, where if you got a scheduled session at noon, and you know the night before that you're just not there, you're going through something, go ahead and email, text your client, confirm that they got the message. Don't make an assumption because you text somebody, they got the message. Have your staff or you preferably call them that night or early that morning and say, I don't know if you got my text message, but I had a conflict of interest. I do not want to not give you the quality of service you deserve. If you'd be so kind, can we reschedule? See how simple that is? The other thing is to maintain an awareness about what's your client's frame of reference and to do check-ins. Like I said, coaching programs should be at least 6 weeks long if you're trying to invoke awareness. If you're looking to be more transformational, they should be about 12 weeks long. If you are working for an organization and you're doing something for a C-suite, or you are working for some nonprofit with troubled people or what have you, then you really need to think about this. Because now, saying another term, you're playing for keeps. Some of y'all are going, what the hell is that? Look, I'm old, so that's like when you played marbles. Okay, some of y'all don't know what marbles are either. But the point I'm making is real simple. This is serious. You are dealing with somebody's life. You're dealing with their well-being. You're dealing with their hopes, their fears. And again, you may be the only person that gives a damn about this person's well-being. You may be the only person that has actually taken the time to listen, to care, to not judge. You're the only safe space in this person's life. The other thing I mentioned is pay attention. Pay attention to body language. Pay attention to shifts in continence. Pay attention to tone, pitch, and inflection in the voice, and especially facial expressions when you're talking to your client. Here's why that's important. Our first language is never words. From the time that your mother has you in vitro, you are responding to pitch, tone, and inflection. As a matter of fact, I always laugh when I say this, a baby monkey or a puppy has more sense than a human baby. It's true. We don't understand anything. When people say, oh, my baby's so smart, your baby ain't smart. Your baby is reacting to pitch, tone, and inflection. And you think about it, how does a sane person talk to a baby? Hey, hi. They're very warm, very soft, very approachable tones, right? Now, when that little rascal starts trying to stick a fork in an electric socket and trying to poke you in the eye or something, you stop, right? It's abrupt, it's short, it's harsh. Pay attention to your client's pitch, tone, and inflection. It tells you far more than the words that they're saying. The next thing, facial expressions. That's your second language. I'm gonna give you a quick example, okay? You're me, I'm my dad, and I'm at, I spent and don't think because I have on a suit, I'm a pastor, please, don't, this ain't that. But here's the point. My dad would be at church and I'd be in there typically acting a fool and talking like most little boys do. And he'd give me one of these looks like, now you know what that looks means. You know what that look means, right? Okay. Then he'd give me one like this. Now you know what that look means, right? I didn't have to say anything. What's unique about this is no matter where you are in the world, you may be in Kenya. I know this, the Kenya chapter is really influential in sub-Saharan Africa and Africa as a whole, but now it's very influential globally. You know that pitch, tone, and inflection and facial expression are a language all in itself. Now you add the words, but you as a coach, when you're paying attention to all of that and body language, it's telling you a lot. And that's when you use reflections. I'm not going to get into the course on reflections, but I'm going to tell you, if you are an ACC coach or attempting to get your ACC, right now, you ask your mentor coach or the people in your coaching program to suggest some reading on reflections and how to use reflections in coaching. If you're a PCC level coach, if you don't know what reflections are, I'm going to get you, but no, you should know what reflections are. And if you're an MCC, you probably have mastered them. So please be patient. This may be some refresher for you. But for the first two, the ACC, the PCC level coaches, this is some serious stuff. Always, when your client seems stuck, it is not your job to fill up dead space with your quick retorts. Matter of fact, here's how you know you are not doing a good job of coaching. When you're talking more than your client, that's how you know you're not doing a good job of coaching, okay? There's this common phrase we hear in coaching called a powerful question. I've always found that quite insightful. What the hell is a powerful question? Do more of to continue to get that result. You see how I just took something that was dismal and negative, and just because I shifted it a little bit, it became something that was a source of hope rather than a point of despair. And speaking of that, a key tool and a milestone for coaches is helping your client to build self-efficacy. For you ACC coaches out there that don't know what that is, that's when your client taps into their strengths, to the very things that are indigenous or organic to them. Typically, it could be associated with a past positive experience. Think about it. What does it do when someone gets recognized for just doing well, for showing up, for surprising themselves sometimes and succeeding? Doesn't it make you feel good when somebody, even if you didn't do anything but just get your clothes right that day, somebody says to you, you know, man, you look good in that, man. It's a nice suit. You know, ma'am, you're really pretty. I love your hair. I love that bag you have, right? That's something to think about. You can do that with your client when they come to you in a hopeless state, or maybe not even hopeless, just frustrated. You ask that simple question. I know, and say it somewhat like I'm saying it right now. I know you've overcome a lot. You wouldn't be the man or the woman you are today had you not. So in your past, when you went through something like this before, tell me about that. And be vague. Just say, when you went through something like this before, or the last time you were challenged with something that you didn't think you could accomplish and you managed to succeed, share about that. Because, you know, a couple of things are true, especially men. I know women are just going to give me the amen corner on this one, but men love to talk about when they were the underdog and they won. Well, it's not just men. Allow people to revisit those moments. And if they turn around and say something like, no, I never have good luck, I'm telling you, there's no such thing. Do that amplified reflection. You never, not one time, because if you never did anything right, why are you still alive? You did something right. You at least had enough, like my aunt used to say, she got enough sense not to kill herself. You did something right. And by you being the person to remind your client that you are so much stronger than you think. You're a lot smarter than you know. See, I'm gonna point something out to you. If the reason your client is successful is because they tapped in to you and you shifted from coach mode to consultant mode, from coach mode to mentor mode, what did your client learn? Nothing. Absolutely. If anything, you're creating a dysfunctional codependent relationship. As a coach, your job is to help build resilience, increase their capacity, and the path to that is self-efficacy. Now, how much time do I have left before I'm at 45 minutes? 6 minutes? Oh, wow, dang, time is going by. I got 6 minutes, so I'm gonna put you on game. That's an American phrase, so I'm finna give you some good stuff. Write it down, all right? Put you on game. Colloquialism, look, I'm a black man. Anyway, point, hope is a big deal. Today's topic was about using coaching as a tool to enhance resilience and wellness in turbulent times, right? I believe, and I practice this, that hope is a big thing. You know, it's like faith and hope go together. Your faith in your client is the source of their resilience. And another coaching tool is the use of hope and the use of faith. I read somewhere where it said, you know, faith is the substance of things hoped for, right? It's the evidence of what's not seen. And it's true. When your client doesn't have faith in themselves, you have faith in them. Demonstrated by evoking awareness, provoking thought, See, when you want to use what I say, hope, the technique, there's a term called the generative moment. And that's where you and your client typically can brainstorm the possibilities. And again, this goes back into that powerful question. I think that is such an overstated phrase, but it goes back into when you say, yeah, and here's the way you can do it. You can say to them, okay, we have a problem. We have a problem. You mind if we brainstorm? Your client agrees. Again, always put your client in control, because it's about them, not you. Because you are not being a mentor, you're not being a consultant, you're being a coach. You say, I'll throw out an idea, then you throw out an idea, and we're not going to judge the ideas. Well, what's another way we could look at this? If it's a matter of a paradigm shift, what's another way we could do this? If this is logistics, or if this is something that requires us approaching something a certain way, what's another way we could see it if it's creating disdain? What are the possibilities? You can evolve their conversation beyond that by asking your client to envision. Let's say you had what you want. Tell me how that would make you feel. What would it look like? And be quiet after you make these statements. Just, okay, tell me how that would make you feel. And then point out to your client your observations and the shift change of the pitch, tone, and inflection in their voice, their facial expressions, their body language. I just noticed when you were saying that, this smile came over your face. I just noticed when you were saying that you lit up. You went from being slunched over to you were sitting up straight. I noticed that you got excited. You started talking with your hands. What was going through your mind right then? See, great coaching isn't about you proving how smart you are. As a matter of fact, some of the best coaches do not have PhDs. Now, I'm going to tell you right up off the bat, I think any really good coach needs to have expertise and possibly a hell of a lot of psychology in their background, a lot of sociology. If you're a business coach, you need to understand business and economics and marketing. I mean, I get that if that's what you do. But in general, nothing beats being kind, empathetic, and having awareness. Now, I realize that I'm down to how many minutes now? I got 2 minutes. Here's what I want you to take with you. Live the brand. Be the change you seek. As a coach, make sure that you have a routine. You'll hear me say this, especially if you're one of my clients or I'm your mentor coach. All successful people have a routine. I'm going to repeat that. All successful people have a routine. Consider your routine. Going back and checking the boxes, because I'm going to take questions when we get done with this. Consider your origin, nationality, race, gender, your biases, what generation, because these are the things that you have to move out the way in order to be fully present with your client. What is it you're dealing with in your life right now? How is that affecting you? What can you do to change that? What's in your environment that you can use to fortify and strengthen yourself? And above all, I want you to make sure that you continue to get education, that you continue to seek and do what you've got to do.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I can see Dr. Young is here with us. Karibu sana, Dr. Young.
Hi, how's everybody today?
Good, good, good. We've enjoyed your video, great learnings, great
you.
reflections from what you have taught us today. Yeah, and I'll
Thank
just
you.
start us off with one question before the rest start thinking and maybe writing in the chat of their questions. So I'll start off by just saying, COVID actually threw us into the VUCA world. Yeah, it totally changed our norm. The other day I took a Uber with a lady, and this lady told me about her journey. Every time I take a taxi, I always try to engage the people behind the wheel. And so I tried to ask her, so how did she end up with the taxi? And what she said is during COVID, she realized that people needed to wear masks. And what did she do? She started her business in doing masks. So she was the first pioneer, people say, making the cloth masks. And then after that, she went on to get even a government contract. And from that big government contract, she actually bought her cab. And for me, what that little story in that journey taught me was that she's resilient. She was able to see opportunities at the right time and be able to grab them. My question for you, because you've been coaching a lot of people who have been exposed at especially also higher levels, is there a DNA or is there a mindset for people who are resilient? Yeah, what actually makes certain people more resilient than others? So I'll start us off.
I'm sorry. Resilience, that's a good question, and thank you, Pauline. The resilience is a state of being more than a mindset. It may start as a mindset, but in order for it to have the capacity that it offers, it is something that we must embrace as a state of being. Resilient people always see the glass as half full. They understand that things that take place in life happen for a reason. And what I would offer to you is that whatever it is you're going through, rather than looking at it as damnation or as a stumbling block, look at it as a stepping stool and as an opportunity to have determination. And if you do that, you will have an outcome that is far better than something that's happenstance. It will be the result of intent.
Yeah. So it's actually a state of being. So you'll find certain people who will always be able to adjust no matter the circumstance. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Maybe not to ask too many questions. Any questions from the group? Are there any questions in the group? So there's the feedback that you're getting is that you're very authentic, Dr. Young. What you shared with us was very deep, very good reflections. It was quite profound. You have also made us think about ourselves as coaches. Yeah, it was very insightful. Yeah. So anybody with questions? Or can I ask a second question before somebody else comes up with a question? Yeah, so my second question. Okay, good.
Go ahead. Hi, Dr. Young. How are you doing today? A quick question.
Mr. President.
You talked about goodness.
Efficacy.
Is it a learned process? Is it a intuitive process? Or is it developed process whereby you graduate as you get your hours as a coach, or just being present?
Well, I think it's definitely invoking self-efficacy is a skill. It is something that almost any quality coaching program should teach. If not, you may be in the wrong coaching program. But the truth is, to build resilience and to increase self-efficacy in a client is basically having the awareness to, one, be present in the coaching session. And when you notice your client struggling with something or being disturbed or tormented or distracted by something, identify that and say state your observation. Then ask the client, when you said blank, I observed this. Has there been a time in your life that you've endured and encountered a challenge? And don't try to compartmentalize it, leave it somewhat open. and say, what did you do the last time you were challenged that helped you to overcome that challenge? And your client answering that question allows them neurochemically to tap into whatever it is that was problematic or stressful or a source of anxiety at that season of life. And as they tap into that, there's some neurochemistry taking place. They're having endorphins release. There's a lot of serotonin release. So not only are you reshaping them psychologically, you're reshaping them neurochemically. And the more frequently and the more often that you do that with them and onboard the skill for them to do that when you're not even around, the more resilient and the more profound the effect on your client.
So self-efficacy, from what we are picking from you, Dr. Young, it's a journey, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
It's something that you acquire with time. Yeah. So
Yes.
the other question I want to just ask would be about coaching at the different levels. And you mentioned it in your presentation. Yeah, I remember in my journey as a coach, when I started out as an executive leadership coach, I used to coach the problem. Yeah, and you have the model and you're using the model and you're focusing on sorting the problem, helping your clients sort their issue. But I realized, and you also talked about it, about looking at the body language, the facial expressions, how the coach is turning up into the session. Yeah, and now I learned later that yes, you can coach the problem, but you also have to learn how to coach the person. So maybe you can talk a bit about that.
Yes, and I've got about maybe 4 minutes because believe it or not, I'm doing a lecture in America right now, but I do want to address that. Never find yourself coaching the problem, because clients don't know that what they perceive to be the problem may be a constituent or a component of the problem. By being very present and listening, always coach the person, because at the end of the day, the problem is a reflection of what is going on with the person. As you learn to pay particular attention to the things that are offered to you during the coaching session, or even the coaching process, if you're looking at it longitudinally, you will find that this person is offering to you insight into collaborating factors that may be the source of their disdain or their disruption. If you start coaching the problem instead of the person, you miss the opportunity to evoke awareness as well as to evoke capacity. And when you miss that opportunity, now you are hindering your client much more than you're helping them, because if you go down that rabbit hole and stay with them when you should have stepped back and shined a light down the rabbit hole, then you have not only embedded the issue rather than rather than positioning the issue to be a place of transformation. Now it's just become another point of transaction.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for those insights. And indeed, we've gotten a lot of good nuggets from your lecture and also from your great answers. For me, what I'll be taking out from this is successful people have routines. Yeah, yes. And it's something that I also truly attest to. And maybe I will hand it over to Abwins, our president, to just say asante as we close the session.
Thank you, Pauline.
So thank you, Dr. Yvonne Yang, and for that insightful pitch and presentation. And we are truly grateful that you showed up for International Coaching Week. And I'd like to thank all those who stayed behind at this point, and have a great week ahead, and all the best. And looking forward to see you when you come home to Kenya sometime soon.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. And I want to celebrate your leadership for ICF Kenya. They are very much so blessed to have a man with your character and your integrity as their leader. And I do miss you. I love you. I look forward to being in, I think I'm due back in Nairobi in about 7 weeks for some meetings with Strathmore and with the American Chamber and with yourself. So I look forward to that. And Miss Pauline, you are such a class act. Thank you for hosting me today, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Bahari, and all the best with your presentation.
Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am.
very much, everybody.
I love
Okay,
you,
bye.
Kenya. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. So thank you very much, every one of you, for taking time to listen into this. And we truly have been blessed to have him do for us that presentation. And so for the ICF members, we will ask you to stay on for a short session, to reflect on the day. Thank you very much.